Welcome to Practice Playbook, your go-to podcast for mastering the art of practice management as a financial advisor. I'm Brandon Chapman, an independent financial advisor based in Vancouver, BC, and the founder of AdvisorFlow. Each episode of this podcast is adapted from a live webinar and distilled into a quick, actionable format to help you grow your practice with clarity and purpose. In today's episode, we're diving into how personal storytelling increases trust and increases client loyalty with guests Sam Sivarajan, who's a wealth management consultant and behavioral scientist, as well as Duncan Robinson, a generational financial specialist at Achieve Wealth Management. Together, they explore the science behind storytelling, share client success stories, and offer practical tips for creating narratives that build trust and deepen relationships. Whether you're just starting out or looking to refine and establish practice, this podcast offers real-world advice to help you succeed. Let's dive in.
Today, we're digging into something I think is, incredibly powerful, but maybe not used enough professionally. It's the surprising impact of personal storytelling.
Yes. Specifically, how it builds trust and really drives success.
Right, especially in building trust.
Precisely. And our source for this deep dive is a really insightful webinar I recently came across. It featured financial advisors, industry leaders.
Okay.
The title was pretty direct: How Personal Storytelling Builds Trust and Increases Client Loyalty. We're pulling insights from people like Sam Sivarajan, Duncan Robinson, and also Brandon, who hosted the webinar and founded AdvisorFlow. He shared some great practical stuff too.
Excellent. So we're going to unpack why stories work on us, how they're actually used by these pros, and tackle some of those tricky questions too, like authenticity, when to share, that kind of thing.
Exactly. The goal is actionable strategies you can actually use.
Perfect. Let's start with Sam Sivarajan. He kicked things off with this comparison that, honestly, just immediately landed.
So let me tell you a story. Anna is a 6-year-old girl. Anna's mother is working hard, but since she had her hours cut, the two have been going to bed hungry every night. Until Anna's mother finds more work, they can't afford enough food. Now, let me give you a statistic. 4.4 million Canadians live in poverty and can't afford enough food. So which moves you more, motivates you to act and to help? The story or the statistic? Joseph Stalin once said that the death of one man is a tragedy. The death of millions is a statistic. What he meant is that people find stories more powerful than statistics.
Stark.
It is. But it highlights Sam's point. Our brains, they're just fundamentally wired for stories. He talked about mirror neurons, this thing called neural coupling. Basically, when you hear a good story, your brain reacts almost as if you're experiencing it.
So it's not just listening. It's like you're syncing up with the storyteller.
Exactly. You feel the emotions, you empathize, and that connection, that feeling, that's what builds trust and, interestingly, helps us make decisions. It bypasses some of the purely analytical filters.
And it makes things stick.
Think about it. When you hear a bunch of numbers, it's easy to tune out. In fact, your eyes probably glaze over. But when you hear a story, you perk up. You get interested. You sit up in your chair. You want to know what happens next. That's because stories make our brains sync with the storyteller. We feel the story as if we were living it. And that is why sharing stories is so persuasive. In fact, studies show that people remember stories up to 22 times more than facts alone.
22 times. That's huge. Especially in fields like finance, which can be so complex.
Think about it. If you can make your advice 22 times more memorable and build trust at the same time, that's a game changer.
No kidding. Did he share any examples of this in action?
He did, a great one from his investment banking days. He said, and I'm quoting him here, "Our logos and those of our client companies got us the meetings, but we won the deals by sharing stories."
As a junior banker, I was lucky to get to work on the biggest satellite IPO in Europe. I spent months working on that deal, learning about the business and the technical side of the satellite industry. The IPO was a huge success. A few months later, we pitched to a division of Airbus that owned a large satellite business in Latin America. During that pitch, I shared the story of our previous work. I talked about the challenges we overcame and the successes we achieved. In other words, I shared the stories about how we made that European transaction successful. This positioned us as the right partner. We ended up winning that Airbus mandate because the team could see our expertise through the story I shared. I firmly believe that unlocking the future starts with the stories of our past. By sharing our stories, we empower clients to picture their own futures. They see our wins over similar challenges, and they trust that we can help them achieve the same results.
That makes so much sense, especially now. You mentioned the attention economy, right? How we're just bombarded.
Over 10,000 marketing messages a day, apparently. We're constantly skimming, multitasking, until, like he said, you land on that Netflix show you just have to binge. Right. Because it creates an immersive experience. Data often doesn't do that. Stories pull you in, hold your attention, make your brain sync up. Facts inform, stories transform.
So how does this translate to, say, pitching really high-level clients,
Right.
like ultra-high net worth individuals?
Great question. Sam had a case study on that too. His firm was pitching one of Canada's wealthiest families. They deliberately chose to go last.
Why last?
Because they felt, as he put it, we needed to first earn the right to truly understand their problems.
So we brought two decks. The first contained our credentials and capabilities. The second had stories, case studies of similar clients. These case studies highlighted top challenges faced by other wealthy families and how we helped solve them. When we began our pitch, we told the family that we didn't need to walk through our credentials. They already knew our capabilities, otherwise we wouldn't have been invited. I told them that if they had trouble sleeping, they could flip through our credentials deck, and that got a smile. We spent the meeting focused on the second deck, what we had thought might be their pain points, and how we might be able to help. This approach resonated with them because they could see themselves in those stories. They could visualize us solving their problems. This storytelling approach not only won us the client, but it also forged long-term trust.
And this led to Sam's conclusion. We're past the age of just knowledge. AI gives us knowledge. We are now, he believes, in the age of wisdom.
Applying the right knowledge at the right time in the right way. And especially in technical and high-risk areas like law, medicine, or financial advice, data alone isn't going to be enough to persuade. It is storytelling that shows the listener how knowledge applies in this context for this person.
Okay, so that's the why, the brain science, the memorability, the connection. Now let's get really personal with Duncan Robinson's experiences.
Duncan. Yes, his approach is deeply rooted in his own life. He's a third-gen financial specialist focusing on generational wealth.
And he started with numbers.
He did. Just 3 numbers,
Yeah,
18, 44, and 55. Then he revealed he's 73, so 55 years since he was 18. And those ages, 18 and 44, were pivotal.
Okay, tell me about 18.
At the age of 18, we had a knock on the door, and the knock on the door was a really solid friend of the family. And to deliver the news, my dad had passed away of a massive heart attack at the age of 50. At that point in time, me and my 3 brothers, time just completely slowed right down. And for my mom didn't work. She had four hungry boys at home. Mom thought at this point in time it was just the most unthinkable thing.
That experience threw him headfirst into what he calls the business of life.
The business of life,
Yeah.
not just finance.
Right. It shifted his whole perspective.
So I tried to use these open-ended questions. And what happens when something happens? If you've got mom and dad there, if you could do the planning today, what would prevent you from doing that planning? And after sharing my story and knowing that life does happen, what happens? So my big lesson, my big takeaway, and it's wasn't selling the life insurance, but it was selling like life and the loss of human capital.
That's incredibly powerful. And then age 44.
This one is even tougher. His son, Michael, was diagnosed with acute lymphocytic leukemia. He fought for 15 months.
Oh no.
Michael passed away at 14. Duncan shared this a heartbreaking moment with the oncologist who basically said, we'll do what we can, but we've already used the most aggressive protocol.
Unimaginable.
Truly. But the part that really stays with you is what Michael said to Duncan near the end. He looked at his dad and said,
I'm going to be okay, but will you be okay? At that point, it was so difficult to even comprehend that a child could actually die.
Wow. From a 14-year-old.
incredible courage and perspective. And these experiences, the loss of his father, the loss of his son, led Duncan to this core belief.
Which is?
That life is perfectly imperfect. That's the perfection of it. It's a radical acceptance, almost.
Perfectly imperfect. I like that.
And he argues that
When you reinforce with stories, people can identify, people can relate, and it's part of your relatability. And when you become relatable, and you've got a relatability story, it sticks. And it sticks with that client, and they can see your purpose and your passion and how you deliver that story.
It makes you human.
absolutely. He even developed a framework around this, his 4 C's.
Hey, are you enjoying the episode so far? If so, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Connect with me on LinkedIn at Brandon Chapman and let me know what topics you'd like to hear next. And if you're finding this episode valuable, don't forget to leave a review or share it with a colleague who might also enjoy it. Now back to the episode.
Commitment, courage, capabilities, and confidence. And he stresses that courage, especially the courage to share your story, is what elevates you. You stop being someone just selling life insurance and become potentially the closest friend to that family when something does happen.
That's a profound shift in the relationship.
It really is. And he also pushes advisors to be role models for health. His point is stark. Without health, all the wealth that we're building for our clients is irrelevant.
A holistic view
Yeah.
makes sense. Be the guide for the whole picture.
Exactly. And that authenticity, that willingness to share the imperfect parts, that's what he believes attracts clients and builds those deep, lasting relationships.
Okay, so we have the why from Sam, the deep personal how from Duncan. Now let's look at Brandon's practical approach. How does he weave this in day to day?
Right. Brandon built his practice from scratch, so his perspective is very grounded. He starts with his digital presence.
His website and content.
Yeah. He made sure his website really spoke to his niche tech people, business owners. You have to stand out online first.
Good point. Then what?
He uses an initial questionnaire sent via a tool like AdvisorFlow before the first meeting. It gathers basic info.
Standard practice for some, maybe?
Perhaps, but his reason is key. It allows him to tailor the conversation and which stories to bring up. He's already got clues about what might resonate, and he said quite clearly,
My closing ratio with prospects is much higher with those who've completed a survey. For example, if clients checked off estate planning, I generally will discuss how my father passed away with no will and no insurance. This was a couple years ago, and I'm vulnerable with prospects because it negatively impacted my family. And I'm passionate about helping others avoid that type of situation in their lives.
So it primes the conversation and makes the storytelling more targeted.
exactly. His recommendation is essentially a story about their situation, linking the strategy back directly to their goals.
So the recommendation itself becomes a narrative.
Yes. It's not just numbers, it's a story of their potential future, guided by the plan.
And he still values the tech side, the data collection.
Oh, absolutely.
Technology will help streamline the data and file collection process, but it never replaces the human interaction. And that is the crux of why we're in this business.
Let's move into some of the questions people ask during the webinar. These often get into the really practical, tricky bits.
They do. The first one was excellent. How do you balance maintaining privacy related to personal events with the potential for impact in a client conversation? That's a big one.
Definitely. What does it take? Duncan's answer sounds like it would be direct.
It was pure Duncan.
Really an open book. And, as I said, vulnerability and authenticity. Nobody wants to hear about statistics or this or that. They want to engage into you.
For him, openness is the path to trust. Full stop.
Just lay it out there.
Pretty much. But Sam offered a slightly more, maybe nuanced view.
This is a journey that everybody has to make it themselves and find their own level of comfort of where it's going to be.
Yeah, very fulsome answer. And I guess ultimately people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Okay, next question tackled age. How do you think someone in their 20s are able to break into this industry as clients perhaps don't take younger advisors seriously? A common hurdle.
Duncan's response was quite positive. He pointed out young advisors have time on their side, a huge advantage. Plus, they're often digital natives that can leverage platforms in ways others maybe can't as easily.
True. Use technology to your advantage. What did Sam add?
Sam's advice was golden, I think, for anyone starting out. He said young advisors can borrow stories.
Borrow stories.
Yeah.
Like use case studies.
Exactly, or stories from mentors, colleagues. But more importantly, he stressed cultivating empathy through listening to understand. He said, you don't need to have been in the industry for that long to listen, to understand if you can make your clients feel understood.
So listening is the superpower, regardless of age.
Absolutely. And Brandon jumped in there, agreeing, sharing that even when he was young, because I was thoughtful, and I truly cared, 99% of them are still clients today. Care and listening trump age.
That's really encouraging. Okay, third question, adapting your style. Some people are more analytical, some are more emotion-driven. Do you always have a quick assessment of your audience before deciding your approach?
Sam's answer. The short answer is yes. He called himself a chameleon, adapting his approach.
A chameleon, okay.
He recommended using a blend of statistics and stories, but tailoring the emphasis based on the client. He even suggested doing some pre-assessment using, Google, LinkedIn, just to get a feel for them beforehand.
Makes sense. Do your homework. What about Duncan?
Duncan brought it back to basics. You've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Just listen.
Simple, but profound.
He shared an anecdote about simply asking business owners how they started their company. He said that question often unlocks deep emotional connection because the business is their baby. It's inherently a story of passion.
Just asking the right open-ended question.
Exactly. And speaking of persistence and connection, Duncan wrapped up with a pretty amazing case study.
Oh, yeah.
A huge deal. Multi-million-dollar corporate life insurance, bank financed. It took 4 years to close.
4 years. Wow.
Right. Not a quick win. He said it involved constant, open-ended questions, building relatability. They connected over shared charity work, public speaking gigs, and sheer persistence, even drawing parallels between the deal's tough moments and his own dark moments, training for an Ironman.
Using his own struggles to connect during a long process.
Yes. And his motto through it all, unless you ask. Unless you ask, they don't know. You have to keep putting yourself out there, keep connecting, keep asking.
That really sums up the power of combining persistence with that human, story-driven connection.
It does.
So, wrapping this all up, the core message seems undeniable, doesn't it? Storytelling isn't just fluff. It's foundational. It builds trust, creates real connection, inspires action. It goes way beyond just data.
Absolutely. It's transformative. And the final words from Sam and Duncan in the webinar really hit home. Sam urged everyone, your clients need you, bring your whole self, your whole authentic and vulnerable self, and, let the magic happen.
Be your whole self. I like that. It's permission to be human.
It is. And Duncan, his final thought was incredibly powerful. He said, we're in a powerful, powerful business. You have no idea the impact that we can make. And he brought back his personal mantra.
Life is perfectly imperfect.
That's the perfection of it. It can't change it. That's the perfection of it. It's about embracing that imperfection in life and in ourselves and sharing it.
Wow. Powerful stuff.
So maybe the thought to leave everyone with is this. How can you start to identify, maybe craft, and then find the courage to share your own authentic stories? Not just anywhere, but where it matters, building those deeper connections, making a real impact professionally and personally.
What are those perfectly imperfect moments in your own life that might actually be the key to truly connecting with someone else?
Exactly. Not just on the surface, but on that deeper human level.
Thanks for tuning in to Practice Playbook. If today's episode was helpful, be sure to subscribe so you'll never miss an update. For more tips and insights, be sure to follow AdvisorFlow on social media and stay tuned for upcoming episodes featuring expert speakers and practical advice to elevate your practice. Until next time, keep striving for excellence and building a practice that reflects your goals.